My name is Melody Park. During a backyard barbecue, my mom looked straight at me and said, "You're not coming with us anymore." The trip to Paris I'd paid for business class Eiffel View suite private Louvre tour was suddenly off limits. My brother Barrett smirked. My sister Haven kept scrolling her phone. I raised my glass, smiled, and said nothing. That night, I opened my laptop and canceled every single booking. Flights, hotel, transfers, all gone in under 10 minutes. The next morning, at John F. Kennedy International Airport, my phone exploded. Barrett's first text. "Why did you do that?" I typed back once. "Because it's not your trip. If you want to know how far a family will go when the money stops, and what I did next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't believe what happened at the airport." 3 weeks earlier, my phone buzzed during a late-night coding session at the office. The board chair's voice came through clear. "Melody, congratulations. You're our new CEO." The startup I'd poured 5 years into building an app that connects independent artists with global listeners had just hit a major funding round. My salary tripled overnight, and for the first time, money felt like freedom instead of stress. I stared at the city lights from my Manhattan window and thought about family. We hadn't taken a real vacation together since I was in college. Mom and Dad lived in their quiet New Jersey suburb. Barrett bounced between failed side hustles, and Haven juggled 2 kids while chasing influencer dreams. This promotion could change things. I decided to plan a trip to Paris, something luxurious to bring us closer after years of drifting apart. Over the next few days, I handled every detail myself. I booked business class seats on Air France for all 6 of us. Me, my mom Sheila, my dad Gerald, my brother Barrett, my sister Haven, and her 2 little ones. The hotel was a suite at the Shangri-La with direct views of the Eiffel Tower, complete with adjoining rooms for the kids. I arranged a private guide for the Louvre, skipping the line so we could linger over the Mona Lisa without crowds. Dinner would be exclusive under the tower itself, with a chef's menu and sparkling lights. Private vans would handle transfers from the airport to every stop. It added up to a small fortune, but I covered it all from my new bonus. This wasn't just a getaway. It was my way of saying I still cared, even if life had pulled us in different directions. I shared the itinerary in our family group chat late one afternoon. Excitement poured in right away. Haven sent heart emojis and asked if the hotel had a good spot for photos. Barrett replied with a thumbs up and mentioned bringing his camera for content ideas. Mom thanked me briefly, and Dad said it sounded perfect for relaxing. No one asked how I was doing or why I'd chosen Paris specifically. Their responses focused on what they'd pack or eat, but that was fine. The point was togetherness. Friday evening arrived, and I drove out to New Jersey for the barbecue at my parents' house. The backyard smelled of charcoal and fresh-cut grass as Dad flipped burgers on the grill. Haven's kids chased each other around the patio furniture while Barrett lounged in a chair sipping beer. Mom bustled between the kitchen and the table, setting out salads and corn on the cob. I arrived with a bottle of chilled rosé, hoping the casual vibe would ease any old tensions. We gathered around the picnic table as the sun dipped low. Conversation started light. Haven talked about her latest sponsored post. Barrett complained about algorithm changes on his channel. I waited for the right moment and brought up the trip details again, passing my phone around to show photos of the suite and the planned dinner spot. Everyone leaned in, nodding approvingly. Then Mom set her fork down and looked directly at me. "Melody, you've got so much on your plate with the new job. Why don't you sit this one out? We want to keep things relaxed, just us." Barrett chuckled and added, "Yeah, you'd probably be checking emails the whole time anyway. It'd ruin the vibe." Haven glanced up from her plate long enough to nod. "Exactly. The kids need space to run wild without work drama." Dad stayed quiet, poking at his steak, but his silence spoke volumes. No one pushed back or asked if that hurt my feelings. The words hung in the air like smoke from the grill, stinging more than I expected. I'd spent weeks curating this experience, imagining laughs over croissants and selfies at Versailles. Instead, they painted me as the outsider, the one whose presence would burden their fun. I forced a smile and raised my glass. Got it. Enjoy Paris. Inside, something shifted. The rosé tasted bitter. Haven went back to showing Mom a new swimsuit on her phone, asking if it would photograph well against the Seine. Barrett launched into a story about a creator meetup he wanted to crash in Europe. Dad finally spoke up about the best gelato spots he'd read about online. The evening dragged on with more small talk, but I felt invisible at my own announcement. When dessert came store-bought pie that Mom insisted was homemade, no one circled back to include me in their packing plans or excitement. I helped clear plates, said goodbyes with hugs that felt routine, and drove back to the city under a starless sky. Back in my apartment, the high from the promotion had faded. I poured a glass of water and sat at the kitchen island, staring at the confirmation emails still open on my screen. The suite, the tours, the dinners, all tailored for a family that just drew a line excluding me. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. One by one, I clicked cancel on each reservation. Refunds processed quickly since I'd paid up front. In less than 10 minutes, the entire trip vanished. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and went to bed, without telling a soul. The morning of the flight, my family rolled into John F. Kennedy International Airport with fresh luggage and high spirits. Haven snapped a quick selfie at the terminal entrance, her kids waving in the background, and posted it with the caption, "Bonjour Paris, family adventure starts now." She looked polished in a new travel outfit while Barrett hauled an oversized bag filled with camera gear he swore would capture viral content. Mom coordinated the group, making sure everyone had passports ready, and Dad trailed behind with a coffee in hand, chatting about the in-flight movies he planned to watch. They approached the Air France check-in counter in a cluster, excited chatter echoing off the high ceilings. The agent scanned their IDs one by one, then frowned at the screen. "I'm sorry, but these reservations have been canceled. There's no active booking under any of these names." Confusion spread across their faces. Haven leaned forward first. "That can't be right. My sister set this all up. Check again." The agent shook her head politely and suggested contacting the original booker for confirmation. Panic set in quickly. Mom pulled out her phone and dialed me right there at the counter, the call going straight to voicemail after 2 rings. Haven started typing furiously, her fingers flying over the screen. Barrett paced a few steps away, muttering under his breath before firing off messages. Dad stood frozen, staring at the boarding pass printouts that now meant nothing. Back in my Manhattan kitchen, I poured a second cup of coffee and watched my phone light up on the counter. The notifications stacked rapidly: group chat pings, individual texts, missed call alerts. Haven's first message arrived within minutes. "Fix this now. What did you do?" Followed by another. "The kids are crying. This is embarrassing." Barrett jumped in with a string of texts. "Are you serious? Get on the app and rebook immediately." He added voice notes, his tone rising with each one, demanding I call the airline and sort it out before they missed the window. Mom tried next, her call coming through as I sipped quietly. I let it ring out. Then came her text. "Melody, answer the phone. We're stuck here." Dad sent a lengthy voice message, his voice strained over the airport noise. "You're making us look like fools in front of everyone. Do you think this is funny? People are staring." Haven kept the pressure on, sending photo after photo of the confused group at the counter, the kids looking bewildered amid the chaos. I sat there in silence, the steam from my mug curling upward, observing each alert as it popped up. The screen glowed with their desperation, but I felt detached, almost curious about how far it would go. Haven escalated to please, mixed with anger. "I bought new clothes for this. The nanny is waiting back home." "You can't just ruin everything," Barrett threatened vaguely. "If this is some joke, it's not landing. Fix it or else." Mom switched tactics, trying guilt. "We're your family. How could you leave us stranded like this?" The messages piled higher, overlapping in the chat bubble. Haven hit send on over a dozen in quick succession, detailing every inconvenience: the salon appointment she'd booked for French braids, the excitement she'd built up for the kids about seeing the Eiffel Tower sparkle at night. Barrett accused me of sabotage, claiming I'd promised something I never intended to deliver. Dad followed up with another voice note, shorter this time: "Call us back now." I waited through the initial wave, letting the confusion build on their end, just as the exclusion had built on mine. The airport announcements droned in the background of their audio clips, reminders of gates closing and flights departing. Finally, after the barrage slowed for a brief moment, I opened the group chat and typed a single response: "Because it's not your trip." I hit send and watched the delivered checkmark appear under everyone's name. Silence lasted less than a minute. Then the explosion restarted. Haven's replies flooded in a mix of tears and fury. "You're cruel." This was supposed to be special for the kids. She detailed how she'd told her followers about the getaway, now facing questions she couldn't answer. Barrett fired back with threats of his own: "You'll regret pulling this stunt." "We trusted you." Mom begged in all caps. "Please just reinstate the bookings. We can talk later." Even Dad chimed in again. "This isn't the way to handle disagreements." I muted the entire thread, set the phone face down, and finished my coffee. The weight that had pressed on me for weeks lifted in that quiet moment. My boyfriend Tate walked in from the bedroom, still in pajamas, and wrapped his arms around me from behind. For the first time in a long while, the day ahead felt entirely my own. That afternoon, I opened my banking app on the couch, the city hum faint through the window. The automatic transfer to Haven, $4,000 every month for her kids' private school tuition, sat at the top of the scheduled payments list. I tapped edit, then cancel, confirming the change without hesitation. The line disappeared, ending years of covering those fees so she could focus on her online posts. Next came Dad's supplemental credit card linked to my account for his golf club dues and occasional greens fees. He'd charged hundreds monthly without ever mentioning it directly. I selected the card details, revoked authorization, and watched the status update to inactive. The club would send him a notice soon enough. Then I dialed the property management company for the Miami condo. "This is Melody Park. I need to terminate the lease, effective immediately. It's under my name, but my brother Barrett occupies it." The agent verified my identity, processed the request, and emailed confirmation. Barrett had lived there rent-free for over a year, using the space to film videos that never took off. Within minutes, my phone rang with Barrett's name flashing. I answered on the third ring. His voice boomed through the speaker. "Are you insane? I just got an eviction notice." "Where am I supposed to go?" He ranted about deadlines and belongings, accusing me of blindsiding him after everything he'd been through with his channel. I listened without interrupting until he paused for breath, then ended the call. Haven followed with a voice note, her words choked between sobs. "How could you cut the school money? The kids start next week. What am I supposed to tell them?" She described the principal's office calling about unpaid balances, the embarrassment of explaining to teachers. Another note came right after, pleading for just one more transfer to get through the month. Mom texted a simple line: "You're tearing this family apart." No details, no questions, just the accusation hanging there. I stared at it for a moment, feeling the familiar pull of guilt she always knew how to trigger, but this time it bounced off. The alerts kept coming. Barrett sent a follow-up message threatening to involve lawyers if I didn't reverse the condo decision. Haven detailed every expense: the tuition-covered uniforms, after-school programs, field trips she'd promised the kids. Dad called once, left no message, then tried again later with a text. "The club froze my membership. We need to discuss this." I set the phone aside and walked to the kitchen, where Tate stirred sauce for pasta on the stove. He glanced over with a soft smile. "Rough day," I nodded, leaning against the counter as he plated the food. We ate at the small table, talking about his latest sound engineering project instead of my family. "You did the right thing," he said quietly between bites. They're not entitled to your success. His words settled over me like a warm blanket, reinforcing the boundary I'd finally drawn. Barrett tried calling twice more, each time going to voicemail. Haven switched to emails outlining a repayment plan if I'd reinstate the funds temporarily. Mom attempted a group video call that I declined. The desperation in their outreach grew clearer with every attempt, shifting from anger to bargaining. By evening, I blocked Barrett's number entirely. The silence that followed felt earned a space I'd created for myself. Tate cleared the dishes while I scrolled through old photos on my laptop, not of family trips, but of milestones at the startup late nights that built something real. The condo key I still had went into a drawer unused. Haven's school invoices would arrive in her mailbox, soon Dad's club statement in his. Barrett could figure out storage for his equipment on his own. The reactions poured in late into the night. Haven described scrambling to find public school options, the wait lists and forms overwhelming her. Barrett complained about packing in a hurry, friends offering couches, but no long-term solutions. Mom sent one more text. Think about what you're doing to us. I read it then, archived the thread. Tate and I watched a movie on the couch, his arm around my shoulders, the phone finally dark on the coffee table. For the first time, financial decisions felt like power rather than obligation. The pasta dinner lingered in the air, simple and satisfying, a contrast to the chaos I'd left behind. Monday morning, I stepped into the conference room for our weekly product sync slides ready on the projector. Midway through discussing user retention metrics, the HR director knocked and asked to speak privately. She led me to a small office down the hall, closing the door behind us with a soft click. On the table lay a printed anonymous complaint titled Confidential Report Data Breach by CEO Melody Park. It accused me of leaking proprietary source code to a rival platform, complete with fabricated timestamps and screenshots. Attached was a PDF purporting to show email exchanges, but the CTO's name was misspelled in the header. Our actual CTO, Alex Rivera, always signed off precisely. I pointed it out immediately. This is forged. Let me pull the server logs. The director nodded, opening her laptop as I connected remotely from my phone. Within minutes, the access records confirmed no unusual downloads from my accounts, and the alleged files didn't match any in our repository. She cross-checked IP addresses, finding the evidence originated from a public library computer in New Jersey. The investigation wrapped quickly. She labeled it a malicious hoax and assured me the matter was closed, no further action needed. I knew exactly who orchestrated it. Haven had bragged months ago during a family dinner about how I'd be terrified of losing my position if anything threatened the company. Mom had nodded along, suggesting people in high places were vulnerable. Their attempt felt clumsy, yet pointed a desperate swing after the financial cuts. Back at my desk, I drafted a brief thank you email to HR for their thorough handling, attaching the log excerpts for records. The team meeting resumed without missing a beat, colleagues unaware of the interruption. I presented the rest of the slides, fielding questions on upcoming features, my focus sharper than before. Tate met me for lunch at a cafe near the office. Over salads, I recounted the incident. He listened intently, then leaned in. Don't stoop to retaliation. Living well is the best comeback. His advice resonated. Escalating would only drag me into their mess. The workday flowed smoothly after that. I approved a new partnership deal, reviewed artist onboarding flows, and joined a call with investors praising our growth trajectory. No whispers of the complaint reached the floor. HR kept it contained. That evening, as I unlocked my apartment door, a text from Haven popped up. You're going too far. Short-laced with resentment. I read it once, then blocked her number without reply. The screen went blank, another tie severed cleanly. The false accusation lingered in my mind only briefly. I changed into workout clothes and hit the building gym, running on the treadmill until thoughts cleared. Tate joined later, spotting me on weights. Our routine grounding me amid the storm. Colleagues sent Slack messages about the meeting outcomes, excited for the next sprint. I responded professionally, channeling energy into the app that had earned my role. The forged document became just another failed tactic in their playbook. By bedtime, the incident felt distant. Tate and I shared tea on the balcony, city lights twinkling below. He reminded me how far I'd come without their support. Sleep came easy, unburdened by what-ifs. The next day brought routine challenges, bug fixes, user feedback, but nothing manufactured. HR followed up with an email confirming the complaint was archived as unfounded sender untraceable. I filed it away, moving forward. Haven's blocked messages left no trace, her influence diminished to zero. Mom stayed silent, perhaps realizing the job angle backfired. The startup thrived under my leadership metrics climbing steadily. Tate's words echoed through the week live well. I scheduled a team outing to celebrate milestones, fostering the community I'd built myself. The sabotage attempt highlighted their limits, not mine. Weeks blended into productive rhythm. Investor confidence grew, new features launched successfully. The anonymous report faded into irrelevance, a footnote in a chapter closing. Tuesday evening, the intercom buzzed while I reviewed quarterly reports on the living room floor. Through the peephole stood Lydia, the former nanny Haven had hired for her kids last year. I'd covered the salary myself to ease Haven's load, but she fired Lydia abruptly, claiming the budget tightened. I let her in, offering a seat on the sofa. Lydia placed a small envelope on the coffee table. I kept records after I left. You deserve to know the truth. Inside was a USB drive. She explained how Haven used a shared cloud folder for family schedules, and Lydia had access during her employment. Curiosity 1. I inserted the drive. The first file revealed an email chain. Haven wrote to Mom, Melodies, a walking ATM, just play the guilt card and money appears. Mom replied, right. She'll never cut us off. Another message attached a selfie from the barbecue, Haven noting Paris is payback for dealing with her stuck-up success. An audio file followed Haven on the phone with a friend, bragging that the trip rewarded them for enduring the rich sister act. More threads surfaced, detailing how they timed requests around my promotions or stressful periods. Mom advised Haven on phrasing to trigger obligation. The recordings captured offhand remarks about expenses I'd funded without second thoughts. Lydia sat quietly as I transferred everything to an encrypted drive. I wasn't sure about coming, she admitted. But after hearing about the airport from a friend, I couldn't stay silent. Her dismissal had hurt, she'd been reliable, and Haven replaced her with cheaper, unreliable help. I thanked her warmly, walking her to the door with genuine appreciation. Alone, the screen's glow illuminated words that crystallized years of patterns. No rage flared, only resolution. I texted Haven, once I know it all now. Good luck. Then deleted the conversation. Mom responded within seconds. Don't blow this out of proportion, family sticks together. I read it, then blocked her contact permanently. Tate appeared from the bedroom with herbal tea, setting a mug beside me. He wrapped me in a hug. You're free now, he murmured, his voice steady. We lingered there, the drive secured in a drawer. The proof weighed solid, yet liberating. Haven's manipulation, Mom's endorsement laid bare. No need to confront. Awareness sufficed. I shut the laptop and joined Tate on the balcony, city sounds drifting up. Talk shifted to upcoming concerts, easy and light. The USB sealed a door I'd never reopen. Sleep arrived calm, no echoes of demands. Mornings resumed with clarity, work thriving under focused leadership. Lydia's gesture rebuilt trust and decency outside blood ties. The files stayed locked, silent testimony to choices made. Tate left for the studio with a kiss. Daily rhythm reclaimed space, unburdened by old scripts. A week later, I logged into every shared account one final time. The family cloud storage held old photos and documents. I revoked their access permanently. My lawyer handled the will update, removing any mention of inheritance tied to them. Email filters sent their domains straight to trash, and I blocked the last remaining numbers. The process took an afternoon, methodical and final. News of the fallout trickled in through distant mutual friends. The Miami condo management enforced the termination-changing locks, while Barrett scrambled to move out. He ended up crashing on a friend's couch selling his gaming setup online to cover storage fees and basic rent. His channel updates grew sporadic, views dropping without the stable setup he'd taken for granted. Haven faced the tuition deadline head-on. Without the monthly transfers, the private school sent final notices, then expelled the kids mid-semester. She enrolled them in public school across town, juggling longer commutes with her posting schedule. Court papers arrived soon after her ex filed for custody review, citing financial instability as grounds for primary placement. Mom turned to online marketplaces listing jewelry pieces she'd collected over years. Necklaces and rings sold slowly to pay down credit card balances that had ballooned from unchecked shopping. Dad gave up his golf membership entirely, taking a part-time security job at a local supermarket to bring in steady income. Their retirement plans shifted overnight, conversations now revolving around budgets instead of leisure. 3 months passed in total quiet. No surprise texts, no accidental calls, no handwritten letters slipping under the door. The group chat remained archived on my end, unread. Mutual acquaintances stopped mentioning them, sensing the permanent divide. I cleared the apartment walls of framed family photos from better days, packing them into a box for storage. In their place went prints from recent trips with Tate, weekends and the Hudson Valley concerts where we danced without worry. The space felt lighter, truly mine. Mornings started with runs through Central Park, earbuds playing tracks from artists on my platform. The crisp air and steady rhythm cleared any lingering doubts. Workdays flowed with purpose, leading meetings that shaped the company's future. Evenings brought simple routines, Tate experimenting with new recipes, while I handled investor calls from the home office. Sleep came deep and uninterrupted, no midnight buzzes from emergencies that weren't mine. Weekends filled with brunches, museum visits, or lazy afternoons reading on the balcony. Tate's steady presence anchored everything, his support unspoken but constant. The consequences for them unfolded gradually, yet inevitably. Barrett's couch surfing turned semi-permanent, his online presence fading as motivation waned. Haven balanced part-time gigs with childcare, her influencer account losing sponsors due to inconsistent posting. Mom's sales covered essentials but left little for extras. Dad adjusted to early shifts, trading fairways for fluorescent lights. Real family doesn't require invoices. Love shouldn't carry a price tag. Thank you for sticking with this story until the end. It means a lot. If any of this resonated with you, drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family? Share below and let's talk about it.